Director of Community Leadership and Investment for the Lake County Community Foundation. We are located in Waukegan, so we serve all of Lake County. And I'm very pleased to be here with all of you today and really appreciate the opportunity to participate in this. So what I'm going to do with you all today is kind of walk you through a little bit about what our community foundation does, talk to you about our specific investment strategy and priority areas, as well as our grant making timeline and process, and then we'll be sure to leave room for questions as well. But first of all, I want to start with a question to you all. How many of you know what a community foundation is or are familiar with a community foundation? Awesome, that's great. So you probably know that it's a place-based public charity. And what makes community foundations unique is that no two are exactly the same. So our community foundations are as unique as the organizations that we represent. Here you can see a map. There's approximately 30 community foundations in Illinois that have a community foundation. Lake County is fortunate to have our community foundation, which serves all of Lake County. There's also the Highland Park Community Foundation, as well as the community foundation located in Barrington. I should mention that our community foundation is a geographic affiliate of the Chicago Community Trust, so that enables us to do a lot with a staff of 3. So we have 3 folks on the ground, myself included, up in Waukegan, who do this work with the support of our team members, family members from the Chicago Community Trust. So the Lake County Community Foundation, we're celebrating our 15th birthday this year, and our mission is to improve the quality of life of the most vulnerable residents across Lake County. And we do this in 4 ways: by serving as a catalyst, a connector, a grant maker, and a steward. So what exactly does that mean? What do we do on a day-to-day basis? If you kind of think of our focus as being in 2 buckets, the first is inspiring philanthropy. So what's unique about community foundations relative to other foundations is we are a fundraising entity. So we pool resources from the community, from our partners, and invest those into strategies that address specific issues pertaining to our communities. We partner with a lot of individuals and families. We partner with organizations as well to help them achieve organizational sustainability through the creation of donor-advised funds or operating endowments. There's a lot of flexibility in a community foundation, which makes the work a lot of fun. The second piece is working on strengthening communities and growing impact. And that's really where the bulk of my work resides. So in addition to our traditional grant making, we also work with our donor-advised fund holders to help guide their philanthropic goals, provide support to the community in addressing specific issues. We also do a lot of convening around particular issues that our community is facing, whether it's related to issues of immigration and needs for new members of our community, or if there's a specific emergency that occurs in the county. A lot of times community foundations will step up to try and convene stakeholders from both the public and the private sector to really begin that dialogue and figure out a positive strategy to move forward. All of you are going to receive a copy of this electronically, and there are hard copies outside kind of in the lobby area if you're interested. This is sort of, I like to call it a hybrid annual report because it's not like a big fancy glossy annual report. It's really just the nuts and bolts. So it doesn't like weigh your purse down, which is nice. This just gives you an overview of what our managed funds look like. So you'll be able to look at this more closely, but we hold a variety of funds, including endowments, organizational endowments, restricted funds, and that comprises the $13 million that makes up our community foundation's resources. This is just, again, an overview of kind of the various things that we do as a community foundation outside of the traditional grant-making process, which I'll share more about momentarily. So now, kind of moving into our grant-making priorities. A couple of years ago, as I mentioned, we're about 15 years old, we recognized that we needed to be more strategic in how we were investing our funds. So our board and staff came together and underwent a strategic planning process to really hone in on areas where we felt we could make a significant impact with our resources and community leadership and partnership work. So our group identified 3 specific needs areas. One was access to affordable, nutritious food. Another was education in the very broadest sense of the word, so everything from early childhood education to college access and persistence, as well as adult basic education. And the last was mental or behavioral health. So as a small community foundation that's really in the process of beginning to become operationally sustainable, we recognize that we did have some limited capacity. And we're very fortunate in Lake County that a lot of our partner organizations, other government entities, and funders are focused on education and mental and behavioral health. So we decided that the best fit for us was to really hone in on access to affordable, nutritious food. In Lake County, we know that the food exists, so that's not the issue. The issue is getting the food to the people that need it most. So we've been working for the last 2 years with 2 organizations, the Northern Illinois Food Bank and Liberty Prairie Foundation, to address these 3 issues. So those 2 agencies are really focused on partnering in the community with a lot of member organizations, the Lake County Health Department, area hospitals, municipal leaders, churches. So it's really a nice, broad, public-private partnership of effort to coordinate the food system locally. They're also looking at informing local food policy. The food bank has a relatively new advocacy position that was added to their organization a couple of years ago. So we do focus on that, as well as promoting and supporting local sustainable food production, which is really the main focus of Liberty Prairie Foundation in addition to land access. So this priority area for us is something that we proactively go out and place dollars for, so it's not an invitation to apply, because it's a very focused investment process for the next 3 years. So we're getting ready to enter year 2 of this priority of focus. Additionally, over the years, we've always invested in basic human needs, and we use that term pretty loosely. So that could mean anything from preventing violence, for example, access to affordable housing, access to health care, access to education. We've worked with a lot of organizations over the years to invest in ensuring that families can meet their basic human needs in a variety of ways. So this is a priority area that we'll continue to fund, regardless of whatever our proactive priority area grows to become. And lastly, we have 2 restricted funds that we house. These are a result of acquisition of assets that, well, for example, the Early Childhood Education Fund, that was a result of the closure of a nursery school. So we have an operating endowment for, well, an endowment, I should say, for that fund, which allows us to support nonprofit organizations that are really focused on working with children 0 to 5 across Lake County. A couple of examples of agencies that we've funded over the years: Reading Power, which is an organization that does literacy interventions in Lake County. We've also funded Twice as Nice Mother and Child, which is a diaper bank, which is a little unconventional, but still, when you consider the fact that if your child is not clean and you can't get them into daycare, then they're not having those educational enrichment opportunities to build that firm foundation for preschool and beyond. So those are a couple of examples. And lastly, we also funded animal welfare, which is kind of a surprising priority area. And this is something that kind of fell into our lap a little bit. But 16% of our annual distributions are made to organizations that tend to the needs of animals across Lake County. So our most recent grants have been to Equestrian Connections, which provides a non-mounted horse therapy, equine therapy, which is really beneficial to individuals who've experienced some form of trauma. what we like about that specific grant is that it's not only benefiting community members, but also the animals who are providing the care for those community members. Additionally, we've invested in Paws in their North Shore location, which is located just down the road in Highland Park, so they have an adoption center. And we're always looking for new animal organizations to work with. These are both funds that we grant on a regular basis, so annually. They're a little bit of smaller grants that are placed, but it's based on our spendable balances that we figure out annually. So a lot of times we'll advertise that on our website. So moving into our grant making process, Susie, I thought you did a phenomenal job of kind of touching the high points of what the process best practices are. I actually participated in a focus group with Forefront a few years ago to specifically address the issue of general operating support. Our hope as a community foundation is that other community foundations and private funders will follow suit in really prioritizing general operations, because ultimately we should be investing in people and not in things. We don't have the capacity to invest in people, you can't expect your programs to be strong, right? You all know this. So with that in mind, we've tried to simplify our grant making process. Historically, we had kind of a two-part, very traditional process, so a letter of inquiry and then the grant application. We no longer require the letter of inquiry, we go straight to the grant application, which shaves some time off for everybody involved. We use a system called Grant Central. Are any of you familiar with that system? Okay, a little bit. So we follow suit with the Chicago Community Trust in using that system. The nice thing about it, the online platform, if your organization serves multiple communities or counties, this enables you to have access to a variety of opportunities, and you don't have to continuously input the same information over and over again, which is kind of nice. This just gives you an overview of what our cycle looks like. We typically open our annual grant making cycle shortly after the holidays, so you'll get a notification electronically about when the cycle is going to be opening. Applications are due shortly thereafter, and then we spend a bit of time on our due diligence process, which typically involves phone calls, site visits when possible. Am I doing on time? Good? Okay. We have a grants committee that oversees a lot of the work of our community investment strategy. So in partnership with myself and other staff members, we will reach out to organizations to ask questions about specific program requests. We'll get some additional information and put that forth to the full grants committee for review and recommendation. That then goes to our board. Typically, our organizations receive funding over the summer. This year, they're going to receive funding earlier in the year, which is really nice for them. So we'll have notifications going out in June. I can't help but call out the point that you made about not including a lot of like addendum items or appendices. I'm in the middle of vetting all of the grant applications that we have, and it's so nice when everything is concise and we can just go to you if you need something else. So I highly second that recommendation. Thank you. So this is just a screenshot of what our Community Foundation website looks like. You can access the Grant Central system directly from our site. Our web address is down below, and there's a Grant Speaker login button. I'm going to go fairly quickly through the next series of slides. You'll get a copy of this information. It's kind of a step-by-step tutorial of how you can work on your application once you've logged into the system and set up an organizational profile. So this is the Grant Central login. It's just what it looks like. If you're new to the organization or new to Grant Central, you'll need to set up a registration before you're able to identify the different opportunities or revisit your applications. because we don't do a letter of inquiry, we do ask a short series of kind of vetting questions just to ensure that we're not wasting your time. So there's some particular things that we have to be mindful as a community foundation of when we're investing in a community organization. So we do all of that up front, and then once we have that information and know that you're good to go, then you're able to really input all of the details about your organization's background and information. And again, that stays in there, so then in future cycles, you don't have to go in and change that again. This is just an example of what the application system looks like. You get a lovely notification saying that you've been invited to use the system and have a password. We do have great technical support from our team at the Chicago Community Trust. I know occasionally there's questions or specific technical issues, and it's been wonderful having them kind of as that second layer of support to us. So I will say that I feel like we're able to provide the customer service needed to help you effectively complete your application on time. Just moving through this quickly, I want to highlight here our application is tab-based, so if you do choose to participate in our grant cycle in the coming year, since we're in the middle of it this year, we won't be offering it again until the next calendar year. But do know that you'll need to fill out all of the information on all of the tabs in order to have it be completed. The nice thing about the system is, though, you're not on a time restriction up until you submit, so you can go back in and out of the system multiple times to gather information and then input it. This is our contact information for all of our staff. So again, I'm the Director of Community Leadership and Investment. My contact information is below, and then my colleagues Maya and Wendy are also available for questions. It's been a pleasure being with you all this afternoon, and I look forward to taking your questions. Thank you.